Captain Sarah Chen stared at the scanner readings for the third time. The numbers remained the same, but her mind refused to accept what they meant. She rubbed her tired eyes and looked again at the holographic display floating above her command chair. "Run the scan one more time," she ordered her science officer. Lieutenant Marcus Webb nodded and worked his console with quick fingers. The blue light from the scanner washed over his face as he concentrated. Around them, the bridge of the UES horizon hummed with quiet activity. The deep space reconnaissance ship had been traveling for 6 months, checking distant star systems for signs of alien movement. "Same reading, Captain," Webb reported. "The signal is definitely coming from the Kepler 442 system, and the signature matches our records." Chen felt her heart beating faster. The signature belonged to the UES Leviathan, humanity's greatest warship that had vanished 200 years ago. Everyone knew the story. During the Great Exodus, when humans first left Earth to spread across the galaxy, the massive Megacarrier had simply disappeared. No distress signal, no wreckage, no trace at all. "That's impossible," muttered Commander James Park, her first officer. "The Leviathan has been gone for 2 centuries. Even if it survived, why would it suddenly show up now?" Chen stood up from her chair and walked to the main display. The star map showed their current position and the source of the mysterious signal. Kepler 442 was a quiet system with 1 gas giant and several rocky planets. Nothing special about it, which made the discovery even stranger. "Maybe impossible is exactly what we need right now," she said quietly. The timing could not have been worse. 3 weeks ago, the Zephyrian hegemony had delivered an ultimatum to all human colonies: surrender completely or face total destruction within 1 year. The alien empire had been expanding across the galaxy for decades, absorbing or destroying every species they encountered. Humanity had managed to avoid direct conflict until now, but their luck had run out. Earth's military forces were spread thin across dozens of colony worlds. The human fleet was modern and well-trained, but everyone knew they were vastly outnumbered. Intelligence reports suggested the Zephyrians commanded over 10,000 warships, each one larger and more advanced than anything humanity could build. "Captain," Webb called out, "I'm detecting movement in the Kepler 442 system. Multiple Zephyrian vessels are heading toward the signal source." Chen's blood turned cold. If the aliens were interested in the same signal, it meant they had detected it too. Whatever was in that system, the Zephyrians wanted to reach it first. "How long until they arrive at the signal location?" she asked. Webb calculated quickly. "At their current speed, approximately 18 hours. And us? If we push our engines to maximum, we could get there in 16 hours. Chen made her decision without hesitation. "Set course for Kepler 442 maximum burn. Send a message to Earth Command informing them of our discovery and our intentions." The next 16 hours passed like a nightmare. The horizon raced through space while Chen tried to understand what they might find. She read every file about the Leviathan, studying the technical specifications and crew records. The Megacarrier had been 50 kilometers long and designed to house 2 million people. It carried enough firepower to destroy entire fleets and served as both a military base and a mobile city. The ship had been commanded by Admiral Victorious Stone, one of humanity's greatest military leaders. Stone had volunteered for the most dangerous missions during the early colonial period, protecting human settlements from pirates and hostile aliens. The crew manifest listed over 50,000 military personnel, all volunteers who knew they might never return home. Dropping out of faster than light. "Travel now," announced the navigator. The main screen flickered and showed the Kepler 442 system in real time. Chen gasped at what she saw. Floating in the shadow of the gas giant was a massive shape that could only be the Leviathan. Even at this distance, the Megacarrier looked enormous compared to their small reconnaissance ship. "Scanning for Zephyrian vessels," Webb reported. 3 enemy ships detected," came the reply. "They're approaching the Megacarrier from the opposite side of the system." Chen studied the tactical display. The Zephyrian ships were sleek and predatory-looking, their crystalline hulls reflecting the light from the distant star. Each one was 3 times larger than the horizon and armed with weapons that could slice through human armor like paper. "Can we reach the Leviathan before they do?" she asked. "It will be close, but yes," the navigator replied. "Do it, and prepare a boarding team. I want to know what's on that ship." As they raced toward the ancient Megacarrier, Chen could see more details. The hull showed signs of damage from unknown weapons, with several sections that looked melted or torn. But the overall structure appeared intact, which was miraculous after 2 centuries in space. "Captain, I'm detecting power signatures from the Leviathan," Webb announced with excitement. "Minimal, but definitely active. Something on that ship is still working." The boarding team assembled in the shuttle bay while the Horizon moved alongside the massive vessel. Chen led the team herself, bringing along Webb, 2 security officers, and an engineer. They wore full environmental suits since they had no idea what condition the Megacarrier's atmosphere might be in. The shuttle flew through a canyon formed by the Leviathan's hull plates, searching for an intact docking bay. The scale was overwhelming. Their entire ship could fit inside one of the Megacarrier's weapon turrets. Finally, they found an open hangar large enough for their small craft. As soon as they docked, emergency lighting flickered on throughout the bay. Ancient machinery hummed to life and the massive doors sealed behind them. Atmospheric processors began working, filling the hangar with breathable air. "The ship recognizes us," Chen said with wonder. "After all these years, it still knows we're human." They made their way through corridors that could accommodate thousands of people. Everything was built on a massive scale, from the ceiling height to the width of the passages. Emergency lighting guided them toward what appeared to be the command center. In the center of the ship, they found a vast chamber filled with dormant computer systems. As they entered, more lights came online and holographic displays began showing data streams. Then a voice spoke from hidden speakers throughout the room. Human DNA confirmed. "Welcome aboard the U.S. Leviathan. I am Atlas, the ship's artificial intelligence. I have been waiting for this moment." Chen stepped forward, hardly believing what was happening. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the U.S. Horizon. Can you tell us what happened to this ship?" "The Leviathan did not flee during the Great Exodus, Captain Chen. We were sent forward in time using experimental quantum drives. Our mission was to arrive at the exact moment when humanity would face its greatest threat." The implications hit Chen like a physical blow. Someone 200 years ago had known this day would come. They had known about the Zephyrian ultimatum and had sent the Megacarrier through time to help. "How is that possible?" she asked. "Admiral Stone and her crew volunteered for a one-way mission to save the future of the human species. They calculated that humanity would eventually face an enemy too powerful to defeat with conventional forces. The Leviathan was prepared for this specific moment. Alarms began sounding throughout the ship. Atlas spoke again with urgency in its synthetic voice. "Zephyrian vessels are approaching. I recommend you contact your ship immediately. The Leviathan systems are coming online, but we will need time to fully activate our defenses." Chen grabbed her communicator and called the Horizon. "All ships, this is the captain. Prepare for immediate departure. We've found something that could change everything." As they hurried back to their shuttle, Chen's mind raced with possibilities. If the Leviathan was truly sent from the past to help them now, it might contain weapons and technology far beyond anything the Zephyrians expected. For the first time in weeks, she felt a spark of hope. The war for humanity's survival was about to begin, but they would not face it alone. The heroes of the past had reached across time itself to stand with them. Captain Chen watched through the viewport as her shuttle approached the horizon. Behind them, the massive shape of the Leviathan dominated the view, its hull stretching far beyond what she could see. The ancient Megacarrier was already showing signs of increased activity, with lights coming online throughout its length. "Captain, the Zephyrian ships are maintaining their distance," reported Commander Park over the communication channel. "They seem confused by what they're seeing." Chen could understand their confusion. She felt the same way. In the space of an hour, everything about humanity's desperate situation had changed. The question was whether the change would be enough. Back aboard the Horizon, Chen called an emergency meeting with her senior officers. The small conference room felt cramped after walking through the Leviathan's vast corridors. "What exactly did you find over there?" asked Park. Chen activated the holographic recorder she had carried during the boarding mission. Atlas's voice filled the room as she played back their conversation with the artificial intelligence. "Time travel," muttered Webb. "They actually sent a ship through time." "Not just any ship," Chen corrected. "The most powerful vessel humanity has ever built, crewed by volunteers who knew they would never see their own time again." The tactical officer, Lieutenant Commander Torres, studied the recorded scans of the Leviathan. "The weapon signatures I'm seeing don't match anything in our current database. Some of these systems appear to be completely unknown to modern technology." "That makes sense," Chen replied. Atlas mentioned that the ship was specifically prepared for this mission. They had 200 years to plan and build whatever they thought we would need. A priority message alert interrupted their discussion. The communication came directly from Earth Command, and Admiral Helena Cross's face appeared on the main screen. Cross was humanity's top military commander, a woman who had spent her entire career preparing for the war that everyone hoped would never come. Captain Chen, we received your initial report about the Leviathan. I need you to understand how critical this situation has become. Zephyrian fleets are moving into position around all major human colonies. We estimate they will begin their attack within days, not months. Chen felt her stomach tighten. Admiral, the Leviathan may be our only chance. I recommend sending additional ships to assist with whatever the Megacarrier needs to become fully operational. Agreed. I'm dispatching the task force that was heading to defend the Centauri colonies. They'll reach your position in 36 hours. Until then, you need to learn everything you can about that ship and its capabilities. After the transmission ended, Chen made her decision. I'm returning to the Leviathan with a full technical team. We need to understand what we're dealing with. The second boarding mission included engineers, computer specialists, and medical personnel. As their shuttles docked in the Megacarrier's hangar bay, Chen noticed that more systems had come online. The artificial gravity was now functioning normally, and the air quality readings showed a fully breathable atmosphere throughout the ship. Atlas guided them through corridors that were beginning to show signs of life. Computer terminals displayed streams of data, and automated systems hummed with increasing activity. But it was what they found in the deeper sections of the ship that truly amazed them. The stasis chambers stretched as far as they could see. Row upon row of sealed pods, each one containing a human form suspended in perfect preservation. According to Atlas, over 50,000 crew members waited in artificial sleep, ready to awaken when needed. They've been here for 200 years, asked Dr. Martinez, the chief medical officer. Time has no meaning in quantum stasis, Atlas explained. For them, only moments have passed since they entered the chambers. Their bodies and minds are exactly as they were when the Leviathan departed Earth's timeline. Chen stared at the nearest pod, where she could see the face of a young woman in military uniform. The nameplate identified her as Commander Lisa Park, a tactical specialist. According to the records, she had been 26 years old when she volunteered for the mission. Can they be safely awakened? Chen asked. The revival process will take several hours, but yes. However, I recommend beginning with senior command staff first. They will need time to adjust to their new temporal location. Atlas led them to a special section where the command crew waited in stasis. Chen recognized several faces from historical records. Admiral Victoria Stone looked exactly as she had in old photographs, her features peaceful in artificial sleep. Beside her were the ship's department heads, all volunteers who had given up their lives in the past to save humanity's future. Begin the revival process for Admiral Stone and her senior staff, Chen ordered. While the medical team worked to safely awaken the ancient crew, Chen explored more of the ship. The Leviathan was not just a warship, but a complete mobile civilization. There were residential areas that could house millions of people, manufacturing facilities that could build entire fleets, and research laboratories equipped with technology she could barely understand. In the main weapons bay, she found automated factories already at work. Robotic systems were assembling fighters and bombers at an incredible pace. The designs were unlike anything she had seen before, with angular shapes that seemed to bend light around them. Quantum phase fighters, Atlas explained. They can shift partially out of normal space-time, allowing them to pass through enemy shields and armor. Admiral Stone's team spent decades developing this technology specifically to counter Zephyrian defenses. How many can you build? Chen asked. The current production rate is 100 fighters every 6 hours. However, this will increase as more manufacturing systems come online. At full capacity, the Leviathan can produce over 2,000 combat vehicles per day. Chen tried to imagine what such a force could accomplish against the Zephyrian fleets. It was more firepower than humanity had possessed in its entire history, and it was being built by machines that had waited 2 centuries for this moment. A communication alert drew her attention back to the medical bay. Dr. Martinez reported that Admiral Stone was beginning to show signs of awakening. Chen hurried to the revival chamber, where several ancient officers were slowly returning to consciousness. Admiral Stone opened her eyes and immediately tried to sit up. She was a tall woman with silver hair and sharp features that spoke of a lifetime of military command. When she saw Chen, she smiled with evident relief. "Captain," Stone said, her voice still weak from the stasis process. "I see you received our message. Admiral, I'm Captain Sarah Chen of the UES Horizon. The year is 2387 and humanity is facing the threat you prepared for." Stone nodded as if she had expected this news. "The Zephyrian hegemony. Our intelligence suggested they would reach human space around this time. How long do we have?" "Days, possibly hours before they begin their attack on our colonies." Stone struggled to her feet, supported by medical personnel. Despite having been in stasis for 2 centuries, she moved with the confidence of someone accustomed to command. "Then we have no time to waste. Atlas, what is the status of our combat systems?" "Main weapons are charging and will be ready in 4 hours. Fighter production is ahead of schedule. Quantum drives are functioning normally. We are ready to fulfill our mission, Admiral." Stone looked at Chen with eyes that had seen the early days of human expansion into space. "Captain, I need you to understand what we discovered during our time. The Zephyrians have a critical weakness. Their entire fleet operates through a hive-mind communication network. If we can disrupt that network, their coordination will collapse into chaos." "How do we do that?" Chen asked. "The Leviathan's main weapon is not designed to destroy ships, Captain. It fires concentrated space-time distortions that can tear holes in the fabric of reality itself. We can use it to sever the quantum links that connect the Zephyrian command structure." Around them, more of the ancient crew were awakening. Chen watched as people who had said goodbye to their families 200 years ago prepared to fight for descendants they would never know. The sacrifice was overwhelming to contemplate. "Admiral," Chen said quietly, "your crew gave up everything to be here." Stone placed a hand on her shoulder. "No, Captain. We gave up our past to ensure humanity would have a future, and now that future depends on all of us working together." Emergency alarms suddenly echoed throughout the ship. Atlas's voice carried a note of urgency. "Admiral Stone, Captain Chen, multiple Zephyrian reinforcement fleets have been detected entering the system. Enemy strength now estimated at over 300 vessels." Chen felt her heart sink. Even with the Leviathan's advanced technology, they were still outnumbered by impossible odds. But Admiral Stone smiled with grim determination. "Then it's time to show them what humanity can do when we refuse to surrender." The command center of the Leviathan buzzed with activity as 2 centuries of military experience merged with modern tactical knowledge. Admiral Stone stood beside Captain Chen at the central holographic display, watching as Zephyrian fleets continued to arrive in the system. 300 and counting, reported Commander Lisa Park, the tactical specialist who had awakened alongside Admiral Stone. Despite being from a different era, she adapted quickly to the current situation. Their formation suggests they're preparing for a major assault. Chen studied the enemy positions. The Zephyrian ships moved with perfect coordination, flowing through space like a living organism. Each vessel was a work of crystalline art, beautiful and deadly in equal measure. Their technology was based on biomechanical fusion, allowing them to grow ships rather than build them. "Atlas, what's the status on our defensive preparations?" Admiral Stone asked. "Main weapon systems are now at 60% capacity. Fighter production has increased to 150 units every 4 hours. However, we have successfully converted 3 nearby asteroids into automated defense platforms." The holographic display shifted to show the asteroid belt near the gas giant. What had been simple rocks were now bristling with weapon emplacements and shield generators. The Leviathan's matter converters had transformed them into fortress installations in less than 12 hours. "How is that possible?" Chen asked, amazed by what she was seeing. Admiral Stone smiled. "Captain, you have to understand that we didn't just travel through time. We spent decades in Earth's past developing technology specifically for this battle. The matter converters can reshape atomic structure at the molecular level, turning any raw material into whatever we need." Dr. Martinez approached with a medical report. "Admiral, we've successfully awakened 5,000 crew members. The rest are being revived in stages to avoid overwhelming our life support systems." Chen watched as ancient warriors took their positions throughout the ship. These people had volunteered for a mission knowing they would never see their homes again. Now they worked alongside her modern crew with remarkable efficiency, as if they had been training together for years. "The integration is going better than expected," she observed. "We prepared for this. "Captain," replied Commander Sarah Kim, the Leviathan's chief engineer who had awakened 2 hours earlier. "Our training included working with future crews who might have different procedures and technology. Adaptation was part of our mission parameters. A priority communication from Earth interrupted their preparations." Admiral Cross appeared on the main screen, her face showing the strain of coordinating humanity's desperate defense. "Admiral Stone, Captain Chen, I have updates on the situation across human space. The Zephyrians have begun attacking outer colonies. New Shanghai fell 6 hours ago. The Centauri system is under heavy bombardment." Chen felt sick hearing about the colonies that were being destroyed while they prepared to fight. Each lost world represented millions of human lives. "Admiral Cross," Stone replied, "we understand the urgency. However, if we act too quickly, we risk losing our only advantage. The Zephyrians must commit their full force before we reveal the Leviathan's capabilities." "How long do you need?" 8 more hours to reach full operational status. "Can you buy us that time?" Cross nodded grimly. "I'll order all remaining fleets to defensive positions around Earth. We'll make our last stand there if necessary." After the transmission ended, Stone turned to her command staff. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have 8 hours to become fully operational and then save our entire species. I suggest we get to work." The next few hours passed in a blur of intense activity. Chen split her time between learning the Leviathan systems and coordinating with her own crew. The integration between old and new was remarkable. Admiral Stone's people brought 2 centuries of preparation and specialized knowledge, while Chen's crew provided updates on current Zephyrian tactics and technology. In the main engineering section, Commander Kim showed Chen the ship's most impressive capability. The quantum foundries were massive chambers where raw energy was converted directly into matter, following patterns stored in the ship's memory banks. "We can build anything we have designs for," Kim explained. "Ships, weapons, even food and medical supplies. The only limit is available energy, and the Leviathan's reactors can provide power for decades of continuous operation." Chen watched as completed fighters rolled off the production lines. Each one was a masterpiece of engineering, incorporating stealth technology that made them nearly invisible to sensors. The pilots were being awakened from stasis and immediately began training flights around the Megacarrier. "What about larger ships?" Chen asked. "We can build cruisers and destroyers, but they take longer. A heavy cruiser requires about 18 hours from start to finish. However, the designs we have are far more advanced than anything currently in service." In the weapons development lab, Chen met with Dr. James Wong, the Leviathan's chief scientist. He showed her the theoretical basis for their most powerful systems. "The main cannon doesn't fire traditional energy or projectiles," Wong explained. "It creates a controlled tear in space-time itself. The distortion travels at the speed of light and can disrupt any form of matter it encounters. More importantly, it can sever quantum communication links." The Zephyrian hive mind, Chen realized. "Exactly. Their entire military operates on instantaneous communication across vast distances. Break those links and their coordinated fleet becomes 300 individual ships with no way to work together." Chen studied the weapon specifications. The power requirements were enormous, but the Leviathan had been designed specifically to handle such demands. "How many shots can we fire?" "The cannon can fire once every 30 minutes at full power. However, we've also developed smaller disruption weapons that can target individual ships or formations." As the hours passed, Chen began to understand the true scope of what Admiral Stone's crew had accomplished. They hadn't just built a warship. They had created a complete war-winning strategy based on detailed analysis of Zephyrian weaknesses that wouldn't be discovered for another 2 centuries. "Admiral," she said during a brief break in preparations, "how did you know so much about the Zephyrians? Your intelligence about their hive mind is incredibly detailed." Stone looked thoughtful. "Captain, there are things about our mission that I haven't fully explained. The time travel technology we used wasn't just experimental. It was partially based on captured Zephyrian equipment. We encountered them briefly during the early colonial period, before they became the empire they are today. The implications were staggering. You fought them before? A small scouting force, yes. We managed to capture one of their ships and reverse engineer their quantum communication system. That's how we learned about their collective consciousness and developed countermeasures. Emergency alerts suddenly filled the command center. Atlas's voice carried urgent news. "Admiral Stone, Captain Chen, Long-range sensors detect massive Zephyrian fleet movements throughout human space. Over 2,000 enemy vessels are converging on Earth. Estimated time of arrival, 6 hours. Chen felt her blood turn cold. 2,000 ships was far more than anyone had expected. Even with the Leviathan's advanced capabilities, those odds seemed impossible. But Admiral Stone remained calm. Atlas, what is our current operational status? All primary systems are now online. Fighter strength is at 800 craft with pilots awakened and trained. Asteroid defense platforms are fully operational. Main cannon is charged and ready. Stone turned to Chen. Captain, it's time to contact your Admiral Cross. We need to coordinate our attack with Earth's defensive forces. The communication link to Earth showed chaos in the background of Admiral Cross's command center. Officers rushed between stations while damage reports scrolled across multiple screens. Admiral Stone, Cross said, we're tracking the Zephyrian main fleet. It's larger than anything we anticipated. Our defensive forces are taking positions around Earth, but we're severely outmatched. Admiral Cross, I need you to trust me completely, Stone replied. When the Zephyrian fleet reaches Earth, have all human ships fall back to defensive positions around the planet itself. Do not engage the enemy until you see the Leviathan arrive. That will leave our outer colonies completely exposed. I understand, but if our plan fails, nothing will matter anyway. We have one chance to break their coordination before they can bring their full strength to bear. Cross hesitated, then nodded. Understood. All human forces will await your signal. After the transmission ended, Stone addressed the entire crew over the ship's communication system. Her voice echoed through corridors where people from 2 different centuries prepared to fight side by side. Crew of the Leviathan, and our allies from the future. We are about to engage in the most important battle in human history. In a few hours, we will face an enemy that has conquered dozens of star systems. They believe we are weak and divided. Today, we will prove them wrong. Chen looked around the command center at faces both ancient and modern, all united in determination to protect humanity's future. All stations report ready, Commander Park announced. Quantum drives are standing by, added the navigation officer. Admiral Stone took her place at the command chair that had waited 2 centuries for her return. Then let's go save our species. The Leviathan emerged from quantum fold space directly above Earth, its massive hull casting shadows across entire continents. Captain Chen stood beside Admiral Stone on the command bridge, watching as the planet they were fighting to save filled the main view screen. The sight that greeted them was both beautiful and terrifying. Earth's orbital space was filled with Zephyrian warships, their crystalline hulls reflecting sunlight like deadly jewels. The enemy fleet stretched from the moon's orbit to the edge of Earth's atmosphere, a wall of alien technology that seemed impossible to overcome. 2,137 enemy vessels confirmed, reported Commander Park. They've arranged themselves in a perfect sphere around the planet. Chen had never seen so many ships in one place. Each Zephyrian vessel was a work of biomechanical art, grown rather than built, with flowing curves that looked almost alive. The largest ones were over 10 kilometers long, their surfaces covered with weapon ports that could devastate entire cities. Where are our forces? Chen asked. Admiral Cross has positioned all human ships in close orbit around Earth, Atlas replied. Total strength 462 vessels of all classes. The odds were even worse than Chen had feared. They were outnumbered nearly 5 to 1, and that didn't account for the superior technology of the Zephyrian fleet. Without the Leviathan, this battle would have been over before it began. Admiral Stone, came Admiral Cross's voice over the communication system. We're tracking your position. The entire Zephyrian fleet is turning to face you. Chen watched the tactical display as thousands of alien ships began rotating to bring their weapons to bear on the Megacarrier. The movement was perfectly coordinated, like a single organism responding to a threat. That's exactly what we want, Admiral Stone replied calmly. All human forces maintain defensive positions around Earth. Do not engage until I give the signal. The Zephyrian response was immediate and overwhelming. Thousands of energy beams lanced out from the alien fleet, converging on the Leviathan's position. The ancient Megacarrier's shields flared with brilliant light as they absorbed the incredible barrage. Shields holding at 97%, reported the tactical officer. Their weapons are having minimal effect. Chen was amazed. The concentrated firepower of over 2,000 warships should have destroyed any vessel instantly, but the Leviathan's defensive systems had been designed specifically for this moment. Now, Admiral Stone commanded, launch all fighters. The Megacarrier's launch bays opened like flowers blooming in space. 800 quantum phase fighters poured out in perfectly coordinated formations, their angular shapes seeming to bend light around them as they activated their stealth systems. The Zephyrian fleet tried to track the approaching fighters, but their sensors couldn't lock onto the phase-shifted craft. The alien weapons fired wildly into empty space while the human fighters passed through their shields like ghosts. Direct hits on 17 enemy cruisers, Commander Park reported. The phase torpedoes are penetrating their hulls without resistance. Chen watched in amazement as Zephyrian ships began exploding throughout their formation. The aliens had never encountered weapons that could phase through their defenses. Their perfect coordination began showing signs of strain as they struggled to adapt to an impossible threat. "Admiral," Chen said, "it's working. Their formation is starting to break apart." "This is only the beginning, Captain." "Atlas, charge the main cannon. Target the Zephyrian command nexus." The massive weapon at the heart of the Leviathan began drawing power from the ship's quantum reactors. Chen could feel the energy building through the deck plates beneath her feet. According to the readouts, they were preparing to fire a beam that could tear holes in reality itself. Through the view screen, she could see the Zephyrian command ship at the center of their formation. It was a massive crystalline structure that pulsed with bioluminescent patterns, coordinating the thoughts and actions of every alien vessel in the fleet. "Main cannon ready to fire," the weapons officer announced. "Fire," Admiral Stone ordered. The space-time distortion beam lanced out from the Leviathan like a spear of twisted reality. When it struck the Zephyrian command ship, the effect was immediate and devastating. The alien vessel didn't just explode. It seemed to collapse in on itself as the fabric of space-time around it was torn apart. More importantly, the quantum communication links that connected every Zephyrian ship to the hive mind were severed instantly. Across the enemy fleet, perfect coordination dissolved into chaos as individual ship commanders found themselves cut off from the collective consciousness. "It worked," Chen breathed. "They're firing on each other." Without the guiding intelligence of the hive mind, Zephyrian ships began attacking anything that moved. Their weapons systems, designed to operate under collective control, couldn't distinguish between friend and foe. The perfectly organized fleet became a swirling mass of confused vessels destroying each other. "All human forces advance and engage," Admiral Stone commanded. "But remember, we're here to defend, not to conquer." Admiral Cross's voice came over the communication system with evident relief and amazement. "Admiral Stone, this is incredible. Half their fleet is already disabled and they're in complete disarray." Chen watched as human ships moved forward to engage the scattered Zephyrian vessels. The battle that should have been humanity's final defeat was becoming a rout. But she noticed that Admiral Stone seemed troubled rather than triumphant. "Admiral, what's wrong? We're winning." "Captain, winning the battle was never the real challenge. The question is what we do with victory. The Leviathan has the firepower to hunt down and destroy every Zephyrian world in the galaxy. The decision we make in the next few minutes will define what kind of species humanity becomes." Chen understood. With the hive mind broken, the surviving Zephyrians were no longer the unstoppable conquest machine they had been. They were individuals capable of fear and suffering, cut off from the collective that had driven their expansion across the galaxy. "Atlas," Admiral Stone said, "open a communication channel to all surviving Zephyrian vessels." The main screen flickered and showed the interior of a damaged alien ship. The Zephyrian commander was a tall, crystalline being with multiple limbs and eyes that glowed with bioluminescent patterns. For the first time in its existence, it was thinking as an individual rather than part of a collective. "I am Admiral Victoria Stone of the human vessel Leviathan," Stone announced. "You have attacked our worlds and threatened our people with extinction. Your fleet is broken and your command structure is destroyed." The alien commander's patterns flickered with what Chen recognized as fear. Through the translation system, its voice was high and musical like wind chimes in a storm. I understand defeat. The collective no longer speaks. What are your terms for our surrender?" Admiral Stone was quiet for a long moment, and Chen realized that this was the most important decision in human history. The response would determine whether humanity became conquerors like the Zephyrians or something better. We offer you something your empire never offered its enemies, Stone finally said. We offer you the chance to live. Return to your worlds. Learn to exist as individuals rather than part of a hive mind. In time, when you have discovered what peace means, we can talk about coexistence. The Zephyrian commander's pattern shifted to what the translation system identified as confusion and wonder. You will not pursue us? You will not claim our territories? No. We will defend our own worlds, but we have no desire to rule over others. The choice of how to live is yours to make. Chen watched as the remaining Zephyrian ships began withdrawing from Earth's orbital space. Many were damaged and limping, but all were leaving peacefully. The fleet that had come to destroy humanity was departing in defeat, but also with an offer of hope for the future. Admiral Cross, Stone said, I recommend stationing the Leviathan as a mobile defense platform. We'll patrol human space and ensure that no one threatens our colonies again, but we'll also serve as ambassadors, showing the galaxy that humans can be trusted with power. Admiral Cross's image nodded with evident relief. Agreed, Admiral Stone. Earth and all human colonies owe you a debt that can never be repaid. As the last Zephyrian ships disappeared into faster-than-light travel, Chen looked around the command bridge at the crew that had made this victory possible. Ancient warriors and modern officers worked side by side, united in their commitment to protecting humanity without becoming what they fought against. Admiral, Chen said quietly, your crew sacrificed everything to be here today. Stone smiled as she watched Earth slowly rotating beneath them, safe once again. No, Captain. We sacrificed our yesterday to give humanity all of its tomorrows. I can't think of a better trade. 6 months had passed since the Battle of Earth, and Captain Chen stood on the observation deck of the Leviathan, watching a sight she had never expected to see. A Zephyrian diplomatic vessel approached the Megacarrier, its crystalline hull no longer armed for war but equipped with communication arrays and cultural exchange equipment. Captain, Admiral Stone said as she joined Chen at the viewport, are you ready for our first formal contact with the Zephyrian Republic? Chen smiled at the title. The former empire had restructured itself completely after losing the hive mind that had driven their conquest. Individual Zephyrian worlds had formed a loose federation based on cooperation rather than collective consciousness. I never imagined we'd be meeting with them as potential allies. Chen admitted. The transformation had been remarkable to watch. Without the driving force of the hive mind, the Zephyrians had discovered concepts they had never experienced before. Individual creativity, personal choice, and the desire for peace. Their society was struggling to adapt, but early reports suggested they were succeeding better than anyone had hoped. The galaxy is watching this meeting very closely, Stone observed. How we treat our former enemies will determine how other species view humanity for centuries to come. Through the months following the battle, word had spread across known space about what had happened at Earth. The story of the humans who chose mercy over conquest had reached dozens of alien civilizations. For the first time in galactic history, a species with overwhelming military superiority had chosen not to use it for domination. The diplomatic shuttle docked in the Leviathan's main hangar bay, and Chen accompanied Admiral Stone to greet their visitors. The Zephyrian delegation was led by Ambassador Kethvar, a being who had been a fleet commander during the war, but now served as one of the Republic's first individual representatives. Admiral Stone, Captain Chen, Kethvar said through the translation device, its crystalline patterns flickering with what Chen had learned to recognize as respectful greeting gestures. I bring formal thanks from the Zephyrian Republic for the mercy you showed our people. Ambassador, Stone replied, we're honored by your visit. How are your worlds adapting to individual governance? It has been challenging. For millennia, we knew only collective thought. Learning to make individual decisions, to disagree with one another, to find compromise, these are new concepts for us. But we are discovering that individual creativity produces solutions the hive mind could never have imagined. Chen was fascinated by the transformation. Intelligence reports showed that Zephyrian technology was advancing in entirely new directions as individuals began thinking independently. They were developing art, music, and literature for the first time in their species' history. We have a proposal for you to consider, Kethvar continued. Several other species in this galactic region have expressed interest in forming a defensive alliance, not for conquest but for mutual protection and cultural exchange. Admiral Stone raised an eyebrow. A galactic peacekeeping organization? Precisely. The Zephyrians would provide advanced biotechnology and ship-growing capabilities. Humans would contribute your military expertise and leadership. Other species would add their own specialties. Together, we could ensure that no single empire could threaten entire civilizations again. It was an ambitious proposal, but Chen could see the wisdom in it. The galaxy had been dominated by conquest-minded empires for too long. A coalition of peaceful species might be able to maintain stability without resorting to the brutal methods of the past. We'll need to discuss this with Earth government, Stone said, but I'm intrigued by the possibilities. After the diplomatic meeting concluded, Chen walked through the corridors of the Leviathan, observing how the ship had evolved over the past months. The ancient Megacarrier had become more than a warship. It was now a mobile embassy, research station, and cultural center all in one. The crew quarters housed not just human personnel but also alien observers, scientists, and diplomats from a dozen different species. The ship's manufacturing capabilities were being used to build medical supplies and infrastructure components rather than weapons. The Leviathan was becoming a symbol of what cooperative civilization could accomplish. In the research laboratories, Dr. Wang showed Chen the latest developments in their technology sharing program. We're working with Zephyrian biotechnology specialists to develop new medical treatments, he explained. Their ability to grow organic technology combined with our quantum manipulation techniques is producing remarkable results. Chen examined a new type of medical scanner that looked more grown than built. Its organic curves incorporating quantum processors that could diagnose conditions at the cellular level. How are the other species responding to our outreach efforts? She asked. Better than we hoped. The Altarian Collective has agreed to share their faster-than-light communication technology. The Vegan Assembly is contributing advanced agricultural techniques. Even some former Zephyrian subject species are interested in joining the alliance. The idea of a true galactic community was becoming more realistic every day. Species that had spent centuries in isolation or conflict were beginning to see the benefits of cooperation and peaceful exchange. Admiral Stone found Chen in the observation lounge later that evening, looking out at the stars that no longer seemed quite so hostile. Captain, I've received word from Earth. The government has approved our participation in the Galactic Alliance with one condition. What's that? The Leviathan will serve as the Alliance headquarters. We'll be responsible for coordinating peacekeeping efforts and diplomatic missions throughout this sector of the galaxy. Chen felt a surge of pride mixed with responsibility. The ship that had been sent through time to save humanity was now going to help build a better future for all galactic civilization. How do you feel about never going home again? Chen asked. She knew that Stone and her ancient crew had given up any hope of returning to their own time. Stone smiled and gestured toward the view screen, where the lights of Earth glowed in the distance. Captain, we are home. Not in the time we came from, but in the future we helped create. Every world that doesn't burn because of this alliance, every species that chooses cooperation over conquest, every child who grows up in peace instead of war, that's our legacy. A communication alert interrupted their conversation. Atlas's voice carried news that would have been unthinkable a year ago. Admiral Stone, Captain Chen, we are receiving a distress signal from the Rigel system. Pirates are attacking a convoy of refugee ships carrying former Zephyrian civilians. Stone and Chen exchanged looks. The irony was not lost on either of them. A year ago, they had been preparing to fight the Zephyrians. Now they were being asked to protect them. Set course for Rigel system maximum speed, Stone ordered, and launch a squadron of fighters to escort us. Alliance vessels from 3 different species are also responding to the distress call, Atlas added. We will not be arriving alone. Chen watched as the Leviathan changed course toward the emergency. Around them, space began filling with ships from multiple species, all responding to protect beings who had once been their enemies. It was a sight that would have been impossible to imagine before the Battle of Earth. Admiral, Chen said as they prepared to jump to faster than light speed. I think we're going to need a bigger ship soon. Stone laughed. Actually, Captain, I've been thinking about that. The Leviathan's manufacturing capabilities could be used to build additional Alliance vessels. Not weapons of war, but ships designed for exploration, diplomacy, and peacekeeping. The idea of a fleet of ships dedicated to peace rather than conquest appealed to Chen. They could explore unknown regions of the galaxy, make contact with new species, and help establish trade and cultural exchange networks that would benefit everyone. As the Leviathan entered faster-than-light travel toward its latest mission, Chen reflected on how much had changed. Humanity had faced extinction and emerged stronger, not through conquest but through the choice to show mercy to their enemies. The galaxy was becoming a better place because people from the past had been willing to sacrifice everything for the future. The observation deck's view screen showed the swirling patterns of faster-than-light travel, but Chen knew that when they emerged, they would find a galaxy full of possibilities. The age of endless warfare and conquest was ending. In its place, a new era of cooperation and mutual respect was beginning. The Leviathan and its crew, both ancient and modern, were no longer just protectors of humanity. They had become guardians of a dream that the galaxy could be something better than it had ever been before. And for the first time since leaving Earth's orbit months ago, Chen was certain that dream was going to become reality. Behind them, Earth continued to turn in space safe and secure under the protection of its greatest defenders. Ahead of them lay unknown stars and infinite possibilities for a species that had learned the most important lesson in the universe. That true strength comes not from the power to destroy, but from the wisdom to show mercy and the courage to build something better.